All right. So, hello, Alex.
As always.
Okay.
Hello, Jim.
Really, first official episode of the Redneck and the Immigrant. I'll be the redneck.
I'll be the redneck immigrant.
Okay. And we can change next time.
Yes.
Yeah. So, welcome, everybody. We're about to launch into Memorial Day weekend.
Indeed.
One of the less, I love the shirt.
Thank
I love
you.
this shirt. One of the less stupid holidays here in this country.
I don't know if we have too many stupid ones, do we?
Well, we have May Day. May Day is an actual
It's a holiday.
is a holiday, and it celebrates something about an 8-hour work day or something like that. Yeah.
So back in Soviet Union, there was a May 1st, which was called the Workers' Day or something along those lines. So it might be kind of the spillover from it.
That was where the government makes you go to work.
Yeah. Well,
For
your
nothing.
unemployment is zero. As a matter of fact, we had in Soviet Union a criminal charge if you were unemployed for longer than a certain period.
We don't have that.
No, I know.
We don't have that.
All right.
It's not a bad idea, but Memorial Day,
Yeah.
valid. I mean,
Absolutely.
We're talking about 2 world wars of service, couple of police actions, Korea and Vietnam. Let's not get in the weeds with that one, but yes. But I wonder. Sometimes I wonder. I often wonder what the East Coast, Upper East Coast, and the West Coast think of the South when they hear about certain things that going on here in the South, because they think of us as a little slower, a little behind the times.
Well, before we go to the South, I just wanted to add on to the Memorial Day holiday as an immigrant. In this case, I'll say that, right? First, the best country in the world. Not the perfect, but the best country in the world, bar none. What made this country best are the veterans that have fallen, are the veterans who served and made this podcast possible. Because if it wasn't for them, those brave men and women who worked today and throughout the wars defended not only this country, the world, we wouldn't be here.
Well, I find there's nobody more patriotic than an immigrant.
I hope most of us like that, but I think it's not because Americans are
A recent immigrant.
I don't think Americans are less patriotic at all. I think Americans are very, very patriotic. However, I think when you come here, you love this country, you appreciate it a little bit differently compared to if you were born here.
Absolutely.
It's not, when you go to Kroger or Publix or Stop and Shop up north or, Winn-Dixie in Florida, and you go to get a headache medicine and there is an aisle of it.
Yes.
Or toilet paper.
You're like, wow.
Right? It's a little, but you're used to it.
Yeah,
you were
exactly,
born with that,
exactly.
right? So anyway.
I'm entitled to it.
I lived in Northeast, believe it or not. I think you do believe it because you knew that. I live in Northeast. And yes, there is a little bit of I don't even know if it's a stereotype or this notion about the South, the Southern accent, etc. Well, let me tell you, after moving here, not that I had that, but it's completely bogus. It dispelled any kind of notion that I had from up north in Connecticut,
The cliches remain.
as we call them, highfalutin.
Highfalutin.
Right?
Highfalutin.
There is so much. Yes, there is a lot of innovation coming from Silicon Valley, but the innovation. Look at Atlanta, Coke, Delta, Home Depot, UPS. A list can go on.
Yeah.
Innovated here.
Yeah.
And that's just one city.
It's just not cotton fields and peach trees.
Well, listen, we don't need to change the history. History happened. A lot of bad stuff happened in history, including wars. Right now, there is a war in Europe.
Yeah.
That will become a history later on. And then decades from now, some people will be talking about it in a historical manner. Right? But no, I personally love the South. And funny enough, even though we call it redneck and an immigrant, when I introduce myself, I say I'm a redneck with a funny accent. And people from the South say, I have an accent too.
That is
Right.
an accent. Yours is. So, but Memorial Day, legitimate holiday.
Yeah.
We have some holidays here in America, and I'm interested in your perspective. You come to America and you see that we celebrate certain things. Here's one that I'm sure threw you: Halloween.
Halloween threw me
I
completely.
mean, what is that all about? Okay.
Well, at first I thought this is stupid. We thought, my wife, this is stupid. But then, it's an interesting, when you I think as you move, let's say, Jim, if you were to move today to Vietnam or Armenia or Costa Rica, there are certain things you will say, "Oh my God, look how it is here," and then certain things like, why are they doing it this
Yeah,
way?
why is
Right?
this
It's
happening?
almost because it goes against what you're comfortable with. Halloween, adults and kids dressed up, handing off candy. At first, it was stupid, but then as you kind of, it becomes, well, I'm a proud naturalized American. You don't, instead of judging it, you actually accept it, and it becomes part of it. This is pretty cool. The kids, the
Yeah.
neighborhood comes
Well, the kids
alive.
love it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, I get it. It goes back to the harvest, and somehow it's spun into the costumes and stuff. Uh, well, Thanksgiving. Now, I don't think you have Thanksgiving in Armenia, but
No, we
an interesting thing I thought about is that we celebrate Thanksgiving with a turkey,
Yeah.
and then you have a problem with turkey. So
If anyone wonders why I love this guy, this is why I love this guy.
we embrace the turkey, and I believe I don't know everything about the Armenian-Turkish problem, alleged problem, but I
it's
don't.
not alleged.
I don't think
It's
that
quite
you
problem.
embrace turkey. Two
Listen.
different spellings.
No, well, pretty close. But
Yeah.
Listen, history, it happened. We can't forget history.
Yeah.
Right. But I also, this is my opinion. This does not by any means apply to all of my kind or other people. But my opinion, I think remembering history is very important. Learning from history is important. But I think living in history is not the wisest thing. I think you need to live for the future. Right? You need to create the future for children, that they will have a better one, and their children will have a better one for our posterity. Right? And some people, I find, I'm not going to say, this nation versus the other, etc. But people tend to have this living in a history attitude in life. And that gets the nations a little more backward than they could be if they were America, right? America, there are events happen in history of America, right? From the revolution to the Civil War and on, right? And many movements in between. And they all improved the country. Almost, I'm not gonna debate.
The people that died might take issue with that.
Why? They died for a cause. Right? That's important.
Yeah.
They died for a
Yeah.
cause. So for us to have a better country for us.
Yeah.
And our job will be to make a better country for our children, our grandchildren. But if we continuously look at what happened in Second World War, Jim, we should never forget. Yeah, we should never forget, but we should never move on from it. No, wrong. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, let's take an example of two countries, America and Japan. During the World War II, a lot of atrocities happened between two countries, right? Both countries moved on. And I think it was late 60s, early 70s when Japanese manufacturing started entering United States. And here we are now, you could argue that, between the Japanese car brands, Toyotas, Hondas, Nissans, etc. of the world, they're competing head to head.
It's as if it never happened.
Never happened.
Look at Vietnam.
Vietnam.
It's a really high vacation spot now.
Absolutely.
Tourism spot
Yeah,
for
very much
Americans.
so.
Hey, have you been to Vietnam?
Yeah.
Thankfully, no. No, I mean recently.
Nowadays.
Let's go to Vietnam. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's as if it
Yeah.
never happened.
Now,
I guess.
having said that,
Is that
we're
good?
not
That's what I said.
forgetting what happened in Vietnam, because
No.
I think, and I could be wrong, and I apologize if I am, I think 15,000 brave men and women of Americans
I thought it was
died in Vietnam.
higher than that. Was it
I can.
60, 70, 80 or something like
Really?
that? Yeah.
I am so
Yeah.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll verify that.
We'll get some
For
more
my own
work.
education.
We'll work on that.
No, I'll verify. But thousands, many thousands of Americans, brave men and women died. Right? Do we forget them? Absolutely not.
No.
That's why we have the Memorial Day. That's why we have
And that's
But
what today
we
is.
move on forward in our future history.
Well, you can appropriate, just as your family appropriated Halloween,
Yep.
coming from a country that did not have it.
Sure.
The Japanese, who have an American fascination,
Yep.
they love all things American, blue jeans
Yep.
and automobiles and musical equipment, things like that. One thing that they have appropriated is Christmas. Now, the majority of Japan, I believe, is Buddhist.
Yes.
Okay. But they think Christmas is so cute. Santa
Yeah.
and the reindeer and the snow and all that kind of stuff. And they have a lot of American Christmas stuff in there seasonally, even though
Yeah.
it's not based in
Right. They don't
Christianity.
view it as a birth of Christ per se.
No.
They view it as a Christmas holiday for
it's
them.
a holiday that they've sort of appropriated. But, we have too many holidays, in my opinion, here in America. There are people, by the way, that don't celebrate Halloween.
For religious reasons or
Yes,
just out of principle?
because the association is too dark. Their view of it is it's I don't get it, but I know that it exists.
I think there are a couple of religious branches, or if I'm using the wrong word, I apologize. They don't celebrate any holidays. If I recall correctly, Jehovah's Witnesses do not celebrate any, from birthday to Christmas or
and
anything
certainly
in
not
between.
Halloween.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying.
Yeah. Well, now a complete marketing holiday, Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's interesting. When marketing works well, after 2 generations, it becomes part of life, as if it always been there. I'm sure, and I don't know, I haven't done research. I maybe read, but I forgot. My retention rate is very low. Valentine's Day did not exist since the dawn of time. Right? It happened at some point.
We invented all these things
At some point,
100 years ago.
Let's go 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, after 2 generations, it's Valentine's Day. Right? It's part of our normal. Right? It's the lobster story in the beginning of 20th century. Back in the day in Boston Harbor, when they would catch lobsters, they would throw them back.
Well, what's the biggest Armenian holiday?
I would say Christmas.
Okay.
Christmas and Easter.
And it's parallel to America's Christmas.
So you would hear
Gifts.
Orthodox. No.
Santa.
So, I thought you were talking about the dates, because dates.
No, I know
that's
the dates
2
are-
weeks. Yeah.
Oh.
Very much so. And I think after the collapse of the Soviet Union, a lot of adoption of the American way of celebrating has come through. And you mentioned about Japan. In Soviet Union, since religion was as Vladimir Lenin put it, religion is the opium for the masses. Right. So religion was maybe not completely forbidden, but certainly was frowned upon. Right. So there was no notion of Christmas, but we had a New Year celebration. Big. It's still very big in former Soviet Union. Let me not name necessarily every country, but it's very, very big. If I'm correct, and this could be verified, in Russian Federation today, they get 10 days of holiday for New Year celebration, like December 31st through January 10th or 11th. Right? So, Jim, as you like to say during your concerts, professional musician, love how he plays and sings. Changing subjects completely. The other day, you and I have participated in a number of Bible studies. We've gone to church. I thought about this, and I don't know if this subject will interest or not, but I said, why do we pray? Let me clarify that before some of our friends watching this saying Alex is becoming a heretic. No. God knows everything what we have in our heads. So when we pray, in our minds, we're telling God what we want or what we desire, but He already knows. Why do we pray?
Yeah, that's a tough one, man.
No, this was not to challenge prayer or not to say Our Father. Not at all. I pray and I love pray. I love the prayer. I love prayer. But I said, why do we pray? Because God already knows. He knows what's in your head. He knows what's in my head, right? I think prayer, He created that for us to be able to connect with our inner self. Not with Him, we're always connected. Sometimes, when you're in an airplane and He starts just taking a dive, we connect little stronger with Him.
There are no atheists in foxholes.
Foxholes,
Yeah.
or God forbid,
Or crashing planes.
crashing
Yeah.
planes, right?
Yeah.
But I said it's an interesting one. I even thought about talking to some some of our more, as one of our friends who has a PhD from Yale in religious science. I would love to talk to him about this.
I think that the meditation, the mantra,
Yeah.
and this spans the world and world religions.
Yep.
But the common thread, you call it prayer.
Yep.
Some others call it meditation.
Sure.
The mantra, it's all about the
Connecting with your inner self.
Yeah, the inner voice, the peace of mind. That's what it's all. It's kind of tied together.
And I was thinking through myself, and I could not put it in right words. I said, it's instead of us, first our mind being occupied with 10,000 things that it doesn't need to, right? It gets occupied with one. And instead of us talking into void, we're talking into silence. Instead of us talking into emptiness, which we do. Well, hey, how you doing? Empty. God. Here we talk into silence and we connect with our inner self. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't think it's easy to do.
It's not. It's not.
No.
Yeah.
I have a hard time turning it off. Here is a good example. Massage therapy. Okay. You're supposed to go in. You're supposed to relax. The massage is relaxing. It's therapeutic. And you're supposed to, at least this is what I believe should happen, is you turn your mind off and disconnect.
Yep.
It's not easy for me. I find myself thinking about things, and I'm stop. Why am I thinking? Did I pick up my dry cleaning yesterday?
Okay, that's what you're thinking about. Okay, good, because that preempted my question. What are you thinking about?
No,
if we switch back to your serious tone on this, I have hard time turning off my brain even during my sleep. And that's, I think, ability. I envy people who are able to turn it off. Right? They go into Mother Nature. They go on a hike, and they're one with Mother Nature. I will go on a hike.
Okay.
I'm in Mother Nature, but my brain is still, picking up dry cleaning.
Peace of mind. It's one of the most elusive and precious things we can attain. And some people find it on the hike.
Yep.
Some people find it in meditation.
Meditation, sure.
Or maybe in a sanctuary. And people plug in where they can to make it work. But some people, I don't think, can find it.
So you said plug in. Let me do a small plug for country of Armenia, being the first Christian country in the world, 23 years before.
Is that
Roman
on your
Empire.
license tags?
No, not. Well, it should be.
Like ours says Peach State.
Yeah, ours says first Christian country in the world.
Oh, wow.
But the seriousness of this is, in Armenia, there are some churches that are very, 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 very old. And when I say old, it's not like in USA. This house was built in 1910. It's old. No.
Oh, we have some 200-year-old churches here.
Yeah. So not 2000, but very old churches.
Wow.
And I got to say, when you go there, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's where it was built, most likely, because, there was some science or religious science involved on where to build a church. Or so many thousands or hundreds of thousands of people throughout generations coming there and praying and putting but you go there and this positive energy enters you as you then walk out of church. I mean, it happens. I'm not saying only there, but I'm saying, when you say some people plug in, when you walk in that old church built in, I don't know, year 900, just arbitrary number, right? It's just the smell, the energy,
The mustiness.
I can always count on you
Yeah.
to ruin a perfectly great
Well, it's
religious
3,000
plug.
years old. There's, I mean, it's not, well, there's an authenticity to that. The heritage of it, the history of it brings an authenticity. I think that's why people go to the Wailing Wall.
Yeah,
And
sure.
it was
Sure.
there.
True.
It was there. So
Yeah.
it's got this authenticity that you don't find, well, especially in America where everything's, the oldest church in America is probably in
300 maybe?
no, here in St. Augustine,
Yeah, well, that's the first city, right?
1608 or
16
something
well,
like that.
that's-
Okay.
that's-
You have 1608. Wow.
Yeah.
And then you go over to Italy
Yeah.
and you see the town square
yeah.
and it's beautiful.
It is. Yeah.
And it was a business center and an
Sure.
art and a cultural center. And it was built in 1222. And I go, what? Here's what struck me.
Yeah.
I literally was in Italy last summer and I'm walking around Siena
Uh-huh.
and I'm looking at the town square just as I described to you.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep. Cobblestone, most likely.
Cobblestones, big buildings.
Sure.
This was the main church. This was the government center.
Yep.
The Senate was over here.
Yeah.
The Senate, and this is over here. And I think they had a Publix as well.
And McDonald's and Starbucks.
I thought that was out of place, but anyway. And they said, and they started building this literally in 1265.
Yeah.
And do you know what was going on in this country in 1265?
Educate me.
Well, who was here?
Yeah. Native
the
American.
truly, I think that term's redundant. Native American.
Well, I think that term tries to indicate, I was going to say isolate, but that would be the wrong word. Because there is a tendency in America, say, Armenian American.
Right. Well, if you're a native,
Mexican American.
you're a native to whatever country you're in.
Well, but yes and no, because back then there was no America. Yeah.
Okay. So the Indians,
Originals.
the
Aborigines. I don't know, what's the right word?
Aboriginals. No, the Indians, as we know them, with the teepees.
That's a wrong name, right?
No, it is completely wrong. Thank you, Chris Columbus.
Yeah.
We gave him a holiday.
This is India. No, I think it's Louis C.K., right? You're Indians, right? No, we're not.
No.
Yeah, you're Indians. No, we're not. No. You'll be Indians for generations.
Well, the culture we know is the American Indian.
Yeah.
Okay, and God bless them because they haven't flourished.
Yeah.
It went downhill as soon as the Europeans arrived in 1608 in St. Augustine. So they lived all around what we know as North America, now US of A. What had they done with the country? The Italians were over there building beautiful town centers, cultural facilities, religious facilities, beautiful, still standing. Nothing was here.
Right.
They did nothing with this country. All the people, we had no infrastructure until when? Late to 1600s, the first colony. What were we doing?
Well, I think, and I feel like we're going to go on a thin ice a little bit because, if you look at the European development of Europe, right? Let's not Western, Eastern, just Europe. The traditional, good old Europe. It's a bit different from the rest of the world. Right? You're comparing just to North America. You can say same thing about South America. You can say that about, Middle or Far East. You could say that about, conceivably large country called Russia, right? You can say that a lot about African continent, maybe even country of India, right? I don't know if now some people could listen to this and say, you're an idiot. We had civilizations before. They've built, right? They've built pyramids in Egypt. They've built, Machu Picchu, right? But to your point, I think European kind of historical progress was a bit different from the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to Greek,
Yeah,
Egyptian,
sure. Roman Empire.
Roman Empire, but certainly they were way, way ahead. Before they, of course, there were no Europeans here in 1300.
Sure.
So, but in England, they were people going to college.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we didn't even have a Pizza Hut here, which was the first building ever built in America. I don't know if you know that.
Is it for real?
The Pizza Hut. Yeah,
No,
that's
you're
the first
joking,
thing
right?
they. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Jamestown.
No, but it's interesting that you would say about what was happening. If you look at a moment in time, 1550, and you would say that university was already there. What was happening in your country?
Yeah.
Right. It's it could be startling the difference of the.
Yeah.
Listen, Roman Empire. Right. And by the way, one of our podcasts, if we get to it, now looks like today we made huge progress on some of the. You're a technically savvy man.
Oh,
Jax.
no.
You
no,
are
no.
very technical.
No.
Don't ever.
You plug it into the wall.
So we will talk about empires, because empire, imperialism, kind of I think related words, they do have a slightly negative connotation. True.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would like to challenge that notion, not today, but in one of our future conversations about empires, and maybe not everything what we think was bad. There were bad things, but there were bad things with any kind of system or country. If you look, I mean, you cannot look at country's history and say everything was perfect. That doesn't happen.
The first one that comes to mind is
Roman Empire, right? Let's think about Roman Empire.
And there's a lot of negative
And a lot of
connotations
positive
there.
and a lot.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We're going in that the foxhole that
Yeah.
we're gonna let's not. But where I was going with this, there is a city of Bath in England, UK, and we went there when I used to commute there for business for once a month for 6 years, and city of Bath, and you're looking at these bathhouses built 2,000 years ago. In a semi-functional, I'm not sure people are still taking bath there or not, I'm not sure, but in a semi-functional state.
Is this the origin of the term bathhouse?
Yeah.
From,
Well, no. I think Bath, the origin for the city of Bath is coming from a bathhouse, because it was, I don't know. Let me not go into etymology of the word Bath and the city of Bath, but it was
Etymology?
remarkable, those water ducts and how it was built, that 2,000 years later. Let me tell you, Jim, I don't think the bathroom in your house or my house or any of our friends' houses will be around for next 50 years.
No.
Okay.
No.
2,000 years when they conquered some portion of the island, now we refer to as Great Britain, it's still there. It's incredible. So anyway, we need to come back to the subject of empires, because I have some, not provocative, not necessarily controversial, but I have some angles on that may go against the mainstream of the stereotype of empire.
What about back when you were mentioning Armenia earlier? The hospitals there. Is socialized medicine?
It's both. There is a
I'll take the free one.
Yeah, but free one comes with
Nothing.
No, not quite nothing per se. And by the way, I have to definitely put a asterisk here. I don't know. I don't live there every day, but from what I know, right, you have access to free medical care, and you have access to paid medical care, and there is a difference. I think similar thing exists in, let's just say,
Canada. You can
yes.
you can get a better
Yeah.
and pay.
Yes.
Or you can get
and,
the
and
modicum.
and not wait.
Exactly.
And so there are some elements
And
of that.
we have pay, and then we have pay more for boutique doctors now.
Yes. Or
I mean,
the doctor who come to your house.
that's my point. Boutique doctors that you give a retainer,
Right.
and you call them up.
Yep.
And it's just like 100 years ago, the doctor used to come to
Yeah,
your
yeah,
home.
with that little
Yeah, and with the satchel, and then you
satchel.
give him a chicken, or you pay with livestock or
Yeah.
whatever. But they would come to you, and then now I think they will again. But these are retainer boutique doctors.
Interesting. I was with our mutual friend Roger yesterday. We were talking about a few things at lunch, and the topic went into disruption. When disruption starts, and it was a certain context, I don't remember exactly, and it's not that relevant. When a disruption, and I'm going to bring back to the conversation, disruption starts at anything, steel industry in US or computers, from mainframe to laptops and phones. And so disruption, there are fantastic books written on the topic. I actually met a couple of folks. They're much, much, much smarter than me in this. I thought that disruption started in our hospital/healthcare system a few years ago. This big monstrosity, right? We have Grady, we have Northside, and you go, it's like a little town, right? And I saw when I started seeing this, small urgent care facilities, I said, interesting. So disruption from the monolithic place that you go to take care of your health, right? Mainframe computer, right? There's this big mainframe, IBM TPF or MVS system. And then you just work on your little terminal. But disruption started, and now our phones have more power than right? The proverbial. I thought the disruption for a hospital started, and now we'll have those smaller, more specialized facilities. Right? If you want to go to the right nostril doctor, it's right there. But no, you still end up going to Grady or Northside or what have you. Not yet, but I think it started. I think it will just take a little more time.
I think that doctors now, well, the doctor that I go to, and is
veterinarian.
No. It is a human physiology guy. I think that when I was younger, the doctors that I would see whenever I did occasionally go to one which was odd, because back then you just didn't
walk it off.
The culture I came from,
walk it off.
Right. We're not paying for a doctor. Where I grew up, if you weren't, there was two protocol. You needed to be standing in a puddle of blood, or a bone should be visibly sticking out. That would qualify you to go to the doctor, and we're going to have to pay for this. So you grow up with that. You don't volunteer to go to the doctor. But I found that when I was younger, the doctors seemed to be more concerned. If you said anything, I'm really having a little pain here, they go, oh, we should look into that. That could be something bigger.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't know if they're more desensitized or not, or if it's an age thing. Now that I'm an older man, I find the doctor that I talk to, I'll say, yeah, how's it going? Well, I've got this, thing going on here. And he'll say, yeah, well, that comes with age. And then I was having this pain right here, I'm used to him going, well, maybe we should do a test on that. Run some tests, because it could be, he's like, yeah, well, in your age, they have that. So I was wanting to say something, what would trigger him, doctor, I think I've been bleeding from every orifice of my body
profusely.
And I know that he would say, well,
that's kind of,
comes with the territory.
Yeah. So
I don't know what I have to do now to get his attention.
I honestly, and I don't want to take this turn of our highway of the conversation, because first, I'm grossly unqualified to provide any kind of intelligent judgment on our current state of medical care. But I think there is an element of slightly, I'm not accusing doctors are brilliant, but a little bit of a transactional approach, right? Because, you're kind of running a business, right? Today, doctors are running a business. So if you run a business, today I have to have 15 or 16 patients, arbitrary number, I have no idea, right? And 16 patients in 8 hours equals to this. And I have to write a prescription. I have to fill out, with my assistant, their medical insurance form, and then this, and then that, etc. So that that care. They still care. Of course, they're doctors. They're I mean, they're really good people. But I think there is an element of slightly like next.
What's
right?
the
Knock,
first
knock,
question
next.
they ask you when you go to register?
Yeah. What's your insurance?
Oh, I don't have insurance.
Oh,
Really?
you know,
They want you to go. Just go. Because we want to
yeah, it's a bit of a close
bill
system.
your, did I
Yeah.
say bilk?
Bilk.
Bill
Milk.
your
Milled.
they want to bilk your insurance company. So, and we want to charge them, this.
Yeah.
And so you don't have insurance. So we want the next.
Well, it's interesting, and I've heard about this. Of course, I've read about this or heard. When you go to the doctor, let's say the doctor knows you a little bit, right? And if you have an insurance and that procedure is, let's say, $320 arbitrary number, that will bill insurance. And you say, Doc, I don't have insurance, but I'm willing to pay cash. The amount changes, and I would say quite significantly.
Absolutely.
Quite significantly.
Absolutely.
I found it.
You just negotiated a 50% discount.
At least. At least.
It actually happened when my daughter was born.
Uh-huh.
I'm a small business owner. I didn't have my health insurance did not have any of the maternity riders on it, so there was nothing covered. So I go to check out. My wife and I are leaving with the baby.
Yep.
Which often happens.
Your baby.
Yeah, it was mine. And I go to the business office. We're checking out, and she goes, "Okay, we've got it here." And she said it was $5,000 and something dollars. This was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said, but we'll submit that to insurance. Don't worry. And I go, no, they won't pay for that. I said, I don't have maternity on the
that
insurance.
coverage, yeah.
They will reject that.
Sure.
So I'm paying for it right now.
Yep.
She said, oh, we'll take that to the business
Yeah.
office over there. So I walk across and I give them, and I go, I was given this invoice, but I don't have the insurance for this. I just want to pay for it. And they go, oh, okay. Well, that'll be $2,500.
On the spot.
Yes.
Wow.
And if I were the insurance company, I would call me and say, by the way, just go in there and tell them
You don't have insurance.
you don't have insurance, pay for it, and we'll just reimburse you and save ourselves $2,500.
You might be onto a business idea to create I'm being tongue-in-cheeky, a fake insurance company that covers for people who pay cash.
Yeah. But go just pay for it and we'll reimburse you.
We'll reimburse
and
you.
the insurance companies are winning there. But this is not an indictment of
This is two guys talking, expressing opinions.
Our medical community as it stands.
No.
And then you almost opened the door there when you said write prescriptions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well. We don't have time nor the energy to take that on today.
Do you want some oxy to get the energy? All right. It's a joke. It's a joke.
No.
Hey, so redneck, allegedly. Immigrant, allegedly.
Yeah.
What's the smell from your childhood you can think of? What's your childhood smells like?
Fresh mown grass.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's cliche, actually.
No, but there is that it's all heavenly, right? Sometimes when you walk outside, I say, how can one not believe in God when you just look at the ocean or the smell of the grass or smell of the forest? I was thinking about that. I said, of course, home cooked meal comes, right? Mom, grandma, home cooked meal.
It's amazing what a trigger certain aromas are.
Yeah, for sure.
Both good and bad.
Yeah,
both good and
absolutely.
Bad. The smell of the home cooked meal juxtaposed to the smell of the nursing home.
Absolutely.
Okay, can both trigger graphic memories.
It's interesting. I will confess to you, Jim. I don't think I've ever said this to anyone but my wife. When we first came to US and we stayed, thank God. But to me, being in the airport had stayed with me as a separation thing. I didn't like airports.
Jet fuel?
No. Just being in the airport.
Okay.
It had that feeling of that separates. Right? From family, from friends. then, I mean, I traveled so much through my business career with my family all over the world. So that's a long gone. But you mentioned that associative memory
Yeah.
can play tricks
Oh, yeah.
with you.
Well, when I was about 10, I was on this swim team, and I was a pretty good swimmer. But we had to be up in the summertime and in the pool early,
Yeah.
which I did not like.
Yep.
Okay, wasn't wired for it.
Yep.
Despised it. Okay, we gotta go.
Yep.
Swim practice, and you're in that pool doing the laps and everything. And I was despising this summer, the swim team and the whole thing. And the pool that we swam in had a very strong chlorine smell, stronger than normal,
Right.
shall we say. And I started associating this chlorine smell with the not wanting to be there, and the negativity of this sinking feeling of I've got to get out of this. It was very negative, and the chlorine smell, and to this day,
it has that feeling. It still awakens that feeling.
To this day, a strong chlorine smell can trigger. And then optically, when my brother and I were small and we were in the back of the car, my father we're getting from point A to point B in the most efficient, speedy way possible. Nothing's going to get in our way. Hunger.
Bathroom
breaks are not tolerated because it will add to the trip. Right. And we had this pressure on us. So my mother came up with this idea. I still think it's around, but it was a coffee can.
Okay.
Like
a pot of coffee?
No, a can of ground coffee.
Yeah. Specific, like a Nescafe or something. Aluminum can.
Well, specifically Maxwell House.
And
it was blue.
Yes.
And it was very iconic, a blue Maxwell House coffee can.
Sure.
Mom grabbed one of those, took it with us, and when one of us had to pee, she would hand us the coffee can.
Are you being serious?
No, and it had the peel off top. And we would pee in the can, put the top back on, and give it back to her.
Interesting.
Now, this really made the trip much more efficient.
Sure.
Okay. So throughout these trips, we would always have the blue Maxwell House coffee can. Okay. To this day, when I walk through the grocery store, if I see that blue Maxwell House coffee can, I have to pee.
It's okay. This is first, it's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Second, it's funny. Third, it reminded me of a little bit different, but a line from one of my absolute all-time favorites, if not the most favorite movie of Shawshank Redemption, when Morgan Freeman gets out and he's a bagger in the supermarket. I think it was in Maine. And when he says, "Boss, bathroom break," he said, "You don't have to ask me." And then he's showing him in front of, I think, a urinal, but it's not. He says, I'm doing horrific job paraphrasing Morgan Freeman, when he says, "For 40 years, I've been asking permission to pee, and I cannot squeeze a drop without asking for permission."
No,
yours was different. You're seeing a Maxwell House can, and I gotta pee.
That's right. But that was not, wholly a negative thing. But some of the things that parents say, especially my mother, she would teach us also things through fear. For example, don't swallow your gum. It will make a ball, and the doctor will have to cut it out. So I was terrified. One time I accidentally swallowed my gum, and I was terrified. I wouldn't even tell her because I knew she was going to rush me to the doctor, and they were going to cut me open and take this ball of gum out. And the second thing that I remember is around 9, 10, we started going to the movies with buddies. Like 3 or 4 10-year-olds would go to the movie. Mom was very paranoid about this. So she says, now, as she was dropping me off, with the buddies, she would say, "Now you guys stay together. Okay. And if you have to go to the bathroom," I don't know why this keeps coming back to that. She said, "Go together. Don't go into that bathroom by yourself because a man will grab you and he might cut your wee-wee off."
Really?
She said that. So now if I had to go and during the movie, You know, I was terrified. I know there's a lurking man with a knife looking to cut my wee-wee off. I mean, I don't know what's in it for him. I don't know. But, and let me tell you, to this day, I'll take a look around because I know Mom, you know, warned me for some reason. So, but the things we use.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know, I think out of no harm or bad sinister intent, I think some of the fears that our parents or grandparents instill in us, maybe, and probably I've done it to my children. Maybe you've done it to yours, although you're smarter than me, but you could have. Right? We inadvertently, it may stay with them without us knowing that we did that to them.
Sure,
right?
it does.
Right? You know, don't do that, or right, and we said that or without even thinking. A moment, it might have stayed with them.
The things that stick with you.
Yeah.
From childhood, I tried to keep that in mind as a parent. The thing that I'm saying now may be such that they carry this with them.
Right.
And I and the positive things, yes, I want them to.
Right.
You know, something that I might have said.
Yep.
You know, in my dad's philosophy, please do take it with you.
Yep.
But I'm talking about the negative aspect of parenting where they could take this too. And when somebody once said, you never forget two things: the people that loved you and the people that hurt you.
Yeah.
You carry that with you your entire life.
Quite
and so you always want to be in the former. But as a parent, you know, if you have one of those times where you possibly made a poor parenting decision in what you said and did, that's going to go on.
And that's why, and I'm not going to pass judgment or even express my opinion on whole, you know, shrink and psychiatry, psychology, you know, going to a psychic or shrink, right?
I think those are two different things: a psychic and a psychologist.
Not psychic, psychiatrist.
Well,
psychic
they're
is
the same.
Shrink. How about that?
Okay.
That's why they try to start uncovering, other than the billable hours, but also uncover to see where is it, because what we manifest may stem from something from a distant past that we have no way of connecting those, you know, multiple dots. That now today we have a fear of height, for example, or we're too introverted and cannot get on a stage and present something, you know, remarkable, right? Or, but that's why the shrinks, they try to kind of go steps back to dig into some of what
they've carried with them. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that goes way back. So let's put a bookmark here.
All right. You know, let's
take up next time.
Yes. We should probably have a more scheduled cadence when I'm not blowing you off.
I don't think anything should be scheduled.
No? Okay.
No, not at all.
It's just
completely organic.
Improv,
organic, rough, not slick.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
All right. I'll see you on the next one.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.